Hey, Enterprise Marketer fans. Before we get started with this podcast, I want to tell you about an event at the end of March that we're participating in called the Intelligent Content Conference. There, we'll be bringing our podcast and the whole show back out and incorporating some new things like live streaming and maybe even a poker game. And we want you to participate. So we'd love to have you come out to Vegas if possible. And we even have a code, ENTMKTR100, if you can. But if not, we want you to be a part of the show. We want you to come to our live stream channel, which will be available on Enterprise Marketer. And we want you to see all the amazing content coming out of ICC. We'll be talking with Ardith Albee, I'm sure, hopefully, because she's awesome, and other people like Andrea Freier, Robert Rose, Joe Polizzi, and some of the great cast of people who are from the MarTech space, not just the content marketing space. So we know how we can embrace amazing technologies to do amazing content marketing. And so we'd love it if you can make it, but if not, go to enterprisemarketer.com and get ready for an amazing event. We're here at B2B Forum, and this is one of my favorite events, partially because the community here is so active. Everybody really wants to be here. No one was like, oh, my teammate said I should come. And last year, I met you digitally because you were on the app. And I think you near or you got to the top of the most posted. But I'm here with Stephan from Sprout Social.
Yep.
So how are you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you're from the area, right?
Yeah. I'm in Bedford, Lexington, Concord area, the whole Paul Revere thing.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's about 30 minutes west-ish.
Yeah. And so what do you do at Sprout Social?
So I work on our employee advocacy platform called Bambu. And it's essentially a communications and social sharing platform for larger corporations to be able to centralize the kind of content that is appealing to their employees so that they can learn more about what's going on at the company, become more engaged, et cetera, become more a vocal advocate for the companies with sharing and stuff like that. So I'm sort of like an in-house consultant, optimization specialist, right?
Oh,
so
nice.
We've created a bunch of services around using the platform more effectively. Setting it up the right way. A lot of the things you would learn here to apply to an agency style, engagement with to improve your marketing and some of your processes and things like that. Because employee advocacy is a relatively new space, so there's a lot that people just don't know, and they're getting thrown into this now. So we've created some services around that that help fill those gaps. And It's been a lot of fun because I get to use a lot of the same tools that I did as a solo, and and some of those some of the more advanced techniques from the trenches and stuff like that to apply to larger organizations. And they're like, wow, this is fun. It's actually working. So yeah, that's what makes me happy, is to be able to see them, understand that this isn't an extra thing for them to do. It's, the whole idea of advocacy is just, it's a little bit more of a holistic feel good thing anyway, right? Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be, I feel good about my company. I'm happy to share, information about my company. I want to be more engaged at work. All of those things, and they're all proven to be very important. So to be able to help facilitate that is pretty cool. I love it.
Well, that's been a divide for companies for so long. We've been so focused on sales and marketing. The marketing department itself has been so focused on being the kind of the leading way for sales and bringing in marketing qualified leads. But for our organization, the ones that truly are successful, it's the resource time, the amount of resources and the committed time to doing positive things for the company that really drives growth and really drives success. And so I see this tug going on with some of our clients that says, yeah, we've got HR that's looking for more leads, more recruits, and the price of onboarding is going up, and the amount of time employees are sticking with the company is going down, that it's becoming a major overhead to handle and bring in employees and then see them out the door. How does an advocacy program like the one you guys have help companies kind of drive more awareness towards that HR side of the business?
Yeah, and it's a great use case too, because a lot of times, especially when you're talking, Sprout launched this thing. We have obviously a very large built-in audience of marketers. So we originally reached out to those, to that audience, that segment, to start the sales process and everything like that. But as we've seen some of those customers, as well as our ongoing efforts grow, we've seen a big HR play, which is awesome. So if you think about it, right, even just, I mean, there's stats to support this. JobVite actually has a really good kind of state of the union report that they do every year to talk about the effect of, referral-based candidates, recruiting, things like that, right? They stay longer, and, their time to hire is shorter. So there's obviously cost savings there, right? But so you think about from, let's bring this internally from an employee advocacy platform standpoint. If I'm able as an employee to share job openings, right? And you make it easy for me to share job openings. So you pre-write the status updates, maybe make a couple suggestions. I know a couple of things like we suggest, for example, not to get technical, but that's sort of who I am.
Well, that's what everybody wants to know.
I'm like a real how-to kind of guy. So, if you think about it, like if you're trying to fill an engineer slot, right? Engineers speak a very different language than most of us humans. So the way I'm going to word a suggested status update for an engineer to share another engineering job is going to be different than that voice that I take on, right? Or that I help them with is going to be different than one that I would, as part of our services and marketing team. I don't have as much of a connection, like a personal connection to that, but obviously it's important, right? So I'm gonna do that in a way that creates intent for how I would share it, right, with my own network, because I might not have a lot of engineers. So I may say something like, hey, do you know anybody? Sprout's hiring. Do you know anybody? Please share this, right? That's perfectly acceptable. But now an engineer might be, hey, join my team. We're doing some amazing things. So being able, and that's actually a big challenge across the board with employee advocacy. It's trying to adopt that voice, because you're renting space on the employees' social platforms, right? You don't want them to sound like a robot. And if they start to feel like that's happening, they're going to become disengaged, and the whole thing kind of fizzles. We don't want that. So it's become trying to find that voice and segment that voice across the different kinds of people you have within your organization, to share the same piece of content. It's tricky, and it takes some nuance. And like I said, it's kind of a new space, but we've seen people doing it effectively that way. And it's for recruiting, it's been phenomenal.
Today, real time is the only time that counts. To stay relevant, you have to stay ahead. Your customers want the right information, right now, wherever they are. So how do you meet the demands of today's customers? By marketing in context. Context accounts for a customer's interaction with your brand. So each touch builds on the next, creating more meaningful experiences for your customers. At Sitecore, we call this context marketing. To do it well, you need marketing technology that has three things: contextual intelligence, content management, and omni-channel automation. Contextual intelligence gives you the information you need about your consumers, so the content you manage is more relevant and is automatically delivered wherever your customers are. The Sitecore Experience platform was built for context marketing, so you can create a more personalized customer experience. Demand more from your marketing technology. Demand more from marketing. Own the experience. Sitecore.
Yeah, it's like a blend of influencer marketing and, being able to see, one, do you get it? Do you understand your employees? Because if you try 5 tweets and you look that no one used these 3, well, then what's wrong with those? And how do I not do that again? I mean, that would be awesome to be able to do that with all our content that we go, before it goes out the door. You could actually say, hey, read this. You guys like it? Share it if you do. And when they do, that you've hit one of those pieces that the audience that we're going after is going to hit as well. Right.
And, in smaller organizations or people who are just getting started with this, the part that usually ends up being missed is the tracking aspect of it. So, when we talk to people who are just starting to think about bringing on a platform for their employee advocacy efforts, the conversation usually goes like, well, how are you doing this? And they say, well, we send out emails and we have suggested tweets and the links and stuff. Okay, that's great. The tricky part with that is you may you may miss some context, or you may be able to add some nuance, and then it just becomes this gigantic long email that's really hard for somebody to process, right? They see this huge block and they're like, I don't really know. It just turns me off, right? Versus being in a platform where they get to say, it's a nice, pleasurable reading experience, and everything's kind of hidden until they want to share, and then it shows them a couple of different things. So they're not totally overwhelmed, and that's really important as far as building engagement on the platform.
Awesome. So how are you seeing tools like Slack, that are kind of changing the way a lot of corporations do the inbox, change that social aspect of interacting with your employees?
Yeah, I know. We use it at Sprout. We love it a lot. We
probably too much.
We have a lot. I don't want to say we have a problem. We don't.
Did you have to take the 2 hours when the Giphy integration came out and said, okay, everybody just get it out of your system?
Oh my God. We have custom GIFs. We have GIF reactions. The fun part about working in a tech company with a bunch of really incredibly talented engineers and designers is somebody bring up an idea like, hey, we needed a reaction with so-and-so. And so what's fun about Slack is how you can do all that, right? You can bring your entire culture into being able to have, all of these like little nuances and reactions. And it's really fantastic because now, like we've gotten to the point where we have our own lingo, right? Everybody has their own lingo in their company. And now we have reactions within Slack to go with those. And, but I think just in general, right, the great thing about tools and messaging platforms like that is, you can react to specific conversations all at once. The tricky part though, is that things get lost real fast, right? So that's where email is still good. The problem with email then becomes either the reply all issue or, things just do become disconnected as you deal with different variations of conversations and all. So I guess, I've found this interesting, even like on social media, right? You've seen like everybody went from having these really long, in-depth conversations on social to like starting to fragment themselves into different private groups and chat, applications and all. And it's interesting to now think like, you probably see it, both on social, but even in the workspace too. It's like, all right, there was that thing we were talking about. Where the hell is it?
Yeah. And search becomes far more important because it has to be search across the enterprise, and across, your Slack channels, your email, your SharePoint, your Office 365 or whatever. It becomes very important. And I think, we're seeing that fragmentation on the web too, and digital, that people are, back when we started social media and it was microblogging, it was a tiny conversation we were going to have, and other people were it was like, how do we get rid of comment spam?
Yeah.
Well, Twitter, right? Let's just allow it to go there and we'll just have conversations there. It's evolved to something completely different today. It's, the conversations are far more, thin. It's a lot of sharing links. But I think we've got lost in translation for it because we'll share links on Twitter now, but we won't share them on our website. So no one gets inbound links. No one gets outbound links, right? The people who are trying to start their blogs aren't getting the same success that they were 10 years ago because no one is doing the things that are measurable that we all know about. And then also, like I talked about at the beginning of the show, when I met you, it was through this digital platform that came online for a little bit and then it went away. Right. And you have that sense of community, and all of a sudden there's like 2 days after the event to about 2 weeks after that you feel like you need to leave. Yeah. Because it's like, it's going to die, and then it finally dies. Yeah. How do you think we can interact, as a body of people who do want to get together and do want to have conversations after the event or after kind of whatever made us gather together?
No, it's a huge challenge. And I think I've seen it happen a lot of different ways, right? People spin up Slack groups. They create group chats and pick your flavor, whether it's even group texts, but whether it's chat, Hangout, Facebook Messenger, Twitter DMs. I think I have the same group of friends in each one of those, actually. We just keep moving the conversation. I don't know why, but we do. I don't know. I kind of think if you look at this like real life, which is kind of what we should do, right? You've got, you're going to go to a party, you're going to meet a lot of people, you're going to go to some kind of community event. It's up to you to decide how far you want to take those relationships and how much you want to, continue to invest in them. Obviously, like, you're going to hit it off with certain people, you become fast friends. the best thing to do is at bare minimum exchange email addresses so that you can stay in touch in a way that, is it's a little bit more permanent, right? I think the one thing that's happened as a result of all of this fragmentation with messaging in general, I think the inbox has actually become a little bit more of a hallowed ground, where the more important things go. So, and you can have some more of the, more of those like transient and fluid conversations elsewhere, right? So the good news is there's less noise in the inbox in that regard. There's still tons of spam, but that part of it is happening elsewhere. So if I do get an email from somebody it's a lot more important than it may have been a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So I would say at the bare minimum, do that, right? But then just like in real life, you have to make an effort to continue to stay in touch with that person and, build a relationship and go from there. It can't all be digital.
Yeah.
It's better when it isn't, because then you get to meet and face to face and you're like, hey, how you doing? Good to see you again.
Exactly.
The cool part about social is then you just kind of pick up where you left off online.
Yeah. So this year you're speaking, and what's the topic on?
Well, I'm holding office hours,
Okay.
right? About and I mean the topics I kind of put out there are obviously any kind of advocacy programs, employee engagement, and I mean I come from more of an email marketing background, so I've actually pulled a lot from the email marketing, things that I've learned over the years into the advocacy space, because I think there's a lot of crossover, or at least synergy there. I hate to use a buzzword, but it's a good one in this case.
Yeah.
It makes sense. They're there for a reason. The big part cracking the inbox is to become relevant, try and build up the value in those relationships and all. And there's that one-on-one connection and all of that stuff, right, that goes with email. So if you kind of translate that into what it means to run an employee advocacy program, you're still trying to connect with groups of your employees and different kinds of people, and get them to or encourage them to engage with you on some level. So there's a lot of crossover. So I'm happy to talk about email marketing and automation. We got a pretty wide set of knowledge there, but also even how that plays into advocacy, and then also the actual topic of employee advocacy.
Your CMO just handed you a global campaign with a short deadline and the request to lead with video. You're given a team of you and, well, you. This campaign is asking for 15 videos that need to create awareness and engagement across multiple online destinations, drive demand and lead gen, and measure performance. Whew, calm down. Everything's gonna be okay. We've got you covered. First things first, we're gonna set you up with Video Marketing Suite, which will allow you to access everything you need from a single online location. And it's made for marketers, so you can easily run your campaign yourself. With just a couple of clicks, your videos are uploaded, automatically optimized to work across all screens and devices. You can distribute to your social channels to reach audiences where they are, and then drive them back to a customized branded video portal using Gallery, which you can create quickly, easily, and in multiple languages. For live events, Brightcove offers an easy-to-use live streaming interface, and after you're done streaming, trim the video and post it on demand for people who missed the event. We'll even help you create interactive elements to optimize video for lead generation. To make sense of all this, our analytics platform tracks a number of statistics in an easy-to-use UI. This data feeds into leading marketing automation platforms. You can see who watched and for how long, and what other content they consumed. Then you know what to create and who it's for. We're Brightcove. We'll help ensure that your video marketing is a success.
It's interesting. You bring up an interesting thought. Because I think automation, people are using it so bad now that we're all like the DMs on Twitter, right? You follow me and all of a sudden, like 15 seconds after I follow back, it sends out a message that says, hey, buy my book, or hey, I love to get to know you. The ones that make me mad are the ones that seem like they were personalized, that I feel like, do you watch the Goldbergs?
No.
Oh, so recently they had this voice answer machine message, and it reminds me of those messages when somebody says, hello? Hello? Oh, I'm just kidding. This is a message. Leave a message after the beep,
man.
right? That's what those feel like. And it makes you madder when you found out it was automated. Do you think advocacy programs and automation in the enterprise could turn that way, where you felt like you had your boss send you an email that was genuine, but it ended up being automated?
I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when you don't do it right.
Mhm.
You know, automation is great to save time. It's never going to replace that human. I mean, I shouldn't say never, right?
Mhm.
Intelligence and machine learning and things like that are coming a long way. But I think that, I don't know, it'll be a long time before you could have a conversation with your boss, aka a bot, you know,
Yeah.
and having a meaningful conversation, you know, in a way that where they completely understand you and all the things that you need to do. So I think just um, you know, yeah, that's funny. The DM thing. I had actually had conversations like, you know, exchanges with somebody and finally said, you know, I should follow this person. So I hit follow, and then 2 seconds later they followed me back and I get the DM. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Right.
Yeah.
Like totally automated, big turnoff. And again, that's somebody not doing it right. You know, I think anything you can do to save time is great. Anything you're trying to do to, you know, game the system or just trying to manipulate people, that's not a good use of it.
Yeah.
And that's where that's falling flat. I think if you listen to anybody who talks about things like scheduling on social media, that's always a hot topic. I don't know why, but it's the same reason people think that you're not being authentic. No, you're just saving time. You're being more efficient with your time. I want to do it all at 10:15 p.m. right for the next week. That's great, right? But the things that, like on the advocacy side, the things that get trickier when you have a lot of crossover within networks, and then so then those people start to see, you know, 5 or 6 or 10 of their colleagues, right, starting to share the exact same words at the exact same time. I've even seen it in like Twitter chat streams where you've had somebody who's, you know, who's maybe speaking at something, an event, and the next thing you know, like their squad just all of a sudden, you know, the whole hashtag stream gets filled with like some like placement, right, like a plug, and it doesn't look genuine, right? So I think those are the things. I mean, I know, like, not to plug Bambu, but we have the ability to offer a couple of different options for any social media post, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn. You could craft, you know, a couple of different ones for somebody to choose from. And I think that's really valuable in the sense that you can make it yours. Plus, it's not fixed, right? So you could load one up and say, I want to change a couple things. Which I do that a lot, right?
Yeah.
So you can still make it yours. And I think that, you know, again, automation is saving time, but it's not necessarily replacing the human element and the human touch there.
Yeah, I think once we start to get back from hitting like before we read an article, just because the person shared it, we like them, right? Oh, I like you, and that article title looks great. I'm gonna like that, and you know, that just happens, right? We're all in this broadcast mode, and I think when the broadcast kind of turns down and we can have a conversation in the room, that's when it's going to be exciting. And I love the word that you use, the bot word, right? And I'm glad it has that word. And it's, you know, IBM, when they call it Watson, it makes it sound like a person. It's not a person, it's a bot, because I know what I can trust about a bot. I know what I shouldn't trust about a bot. And a bot is generated and not, you know, sincere. And so that's where I really hope that word stays as we start to evolve our technologies.
I mean, I would hope, I agree with you, and I would actually hope that it doesn't become a negatively, you know, a word we associate negatively with. It's just a character. It's just here's how you describe this thing, you know, this piece of intelligence.
Yeah, just think Max Headroom from the 80s, right?
Right, and whether it's a bot or some other word, you know, I mean, I think it would get weird to start referring to AI or other type of cognitive, you know, devices as people. As him or her, you know, just based on the type of voice that comes out or anything. I think that'd be a little weird.
Yeah,
It'll probably happen though.
When you have a human name, I mean, I love the platform that Emma has, but when I listen to Scott Stratton's podcast, it sounds like they're talking about a human when they talk, you know, about because they kind of have fun with their sponsor. You're like, you know, who do into this? It's Emma, right? And you think Emma's a company with several hundred employees and not a person.
Yeah.
It's like you said, you get a little bit too human with it.
Yeah. And it just gets, I don't know. I'm sure it's not as big of a deal, but it could feel weird, I guess, after a while.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, thanks for your time. And I hope you have fun at the office hours. I know last year when I did them, I was encouraged because it is the one-on-one. So it is the harder questions, right? And they're coming at you and somebody's needing advice. But they are far more interactive and you can have fun. And there's so many other people there. You can say, well, hey, I'll help you with this part, but I want you to go over him next because he's the expert on this. And then you really see people walk out. And those are some of the longest conversations I've had after the event, are the people who came to the office hours.
That's great to hear. Great to hear. Because I'm happy that we have that in general, but I'm also, as a first-time office hours person, I'm pretty encouraged by that. So thank you.
Yeah, have fun. Well, thanks for joining.